Alrighty, so today, welcome back. We are going to be talking about gaining phases because I'm always talking about dieting and stuff like that, and dieting's always fun to talk about. But there are two kind of ends of the spectrum here that we want to be covering. So I thought I'd give you guys a bit of an idea about when it comes to gaining muscle, what you kind of need to think about, expectations and stuff like that. Because I think a lot of people get confused when it comes to gaining muscle or gaining phases, and they think that people think that they can gain muscle in a shorter amount of time than they actually can. And two, they get scared and they pull out too quickly. Three, they don't know, they're not sure with how much they should be gaining in a week or a month or whatever it's going to be. And four, again, just giving you guys expectations based on realism at the end of the day is what I kind of want to cover here. All right. So firstly, gaining phases. If you are someone who is looking to gain muscle, whether it be a specific area or a full body, grow it everywhere, gain in a specific area. One thing you have to understand with the nutrition side of things is that you're going to gain weight, okay? You're gonna gain weight, you're gonna gain body fat. It is impossible to not gain body fat unless you're taking steroids. But I'm talking to you who I assume is not taking steroids, right? If you are, disregard what I say. If you're a natural person, you're going to gain a little bit of body fat. However, we can reduce the amount of body fat we gain based on our rate of weight gain and based on also how we train in the gym. Okay, two components here, training and nutrition. So firstly, you're going to want to be gaining 0.25% of your body weight a week. Quite a small amount, even a little bit less than that, 0.1 to 0.2. So for me, gaining between 90 to 180 grams a week, taking it very slow, because I'm 90 kilos, is what I'd be going for, all right? So when we look at that over a month, let's say I'm in a gaining phase for a month and I've gained, let's say 1.5% of my body weight a week. Sorry, 0.15% of my body weight a week. So let's just say I'm gaining 100 grams a week. So I've gained 400 grams over the month. May not seem like a lot, may seem like fuck all, may seem quite slow. But if I'm consistently gaining 100 to 150-ish grams a month over 6 months, right? I've gained, let's just say, again, I'm gaining about 400, so 4 times 6. I've gained about 2.5, 3 kilos. Let's just say 4 kilos, right? I've gained 4 kilos over 6 months. A good chunk of that is probably going to be a bit of muscle mass. Maybe let's say 2.5 kilos. And then 1.5 kilos will still be fat, okay? But I've gained more muscle than fat because I took it slower. If you gain at a faster rate, you will gain more fat mass. That's the first thing you need to remember, okay? So ideally, we want to take it slow. Secondly, you'll notice how I said 6 months. You need to commit to a gaining phase and you need to commit for a long period of time. You don't gain muscle in 6 weeks or 12 weeks. People make you think you do, you fucking don't, all right? It takes a long period of time, which is why if you're going to commit to a gaining phase, aim for at least 4 months, ideally 6 months or longer. The longer you can dedicate to a gaining phase, the more likely you are to actually gain muscle. The biggest thing that holds people back from gaining muscle is getting too scared and getting out of a deficit, getting out of a surplus faster than they need to. People get 2 months in, I'm feeling fluffy. Oh, I need to get out of a deficit. Or I need to do a mini cut. I need to do this. And it's just commit to the fucking process. You're going to gain body fat. You're going to be uncomfortable. It's okay. It's worth the muscle gain if you want to gain muscle, right? That's something you have to understand. Committing to gaining means you're going to be uncomfortable and a bit fluffy for a little bit, okay? So committing for at least 4 months, ideally 6 plus would be the best thing for you to do. And again, if you're gaining 0.1 to 0.25% of your body weight a week, it's quite a slow accumulation. It'll add up over time and predominantly be muscle, all right? Now, with the scale weight, and I said again, aiming for 0.1% of your body weight a week to 0.25. That first week, when you increase your surplus, you're going to jump a little bit higher than that. That's okay. It's just like the first week of a diet. You lose water weight. First week of a gaining phase, you gain water weight. You've had more food in your stomach. You are having more carbohydrates in your diet. Carbohydrates are bringing water with them. You're storing more muscle glycogen. There's a whole bunch of shit going on. So disregard the first week of gaining, actually even the first 2 weeks, right? If it is jumping up by a huge amount, like kilos, then you're probably gonna need to pull it back a little bit. But a small weight increase of like 1 to 2.5 kilos is going to be completely normal within that first week, okay? What you should be doing for a surplus is aiming for about 10% of your calories for an increase. So if you're eating 2,500 calories, you're going to be eating 2,750. It's a small jump, and that way you can see how much you are basically gaining per week, right? So that's basically the nutrition side of things. We aim to gain for a long period of time. We aim to gain for about 1%, 0.1 to 0.25%, not 1%, that's way too much. 0.1 to 0.25% a week, which on average ends up being about 0.5% of your body weight gained per month, give or take. It's always too good to look over a month. And so for me, again, 450 to 600 grams a month, if that, but that'll accumulate over time. This is why we take it as a process, a long period of time. Secondly, you have to dedicate your focus with training. You have to work on pushing yourself in the gym. You can eat in a surplus all you want, but if you're not training hard enough, that surplus is not going to benefit your muscle mass, right? You want to gain muscle, you've got to push it hard in the gym. That doesn't mean every session you fucking kill yourself. That just means that each week you are progressively overloading. And progressive overload means either increasing the amount of volume you do in total. So that's either increasing the weight, increasing the sets, increasing the reps, focusing more on technique and getting better at the execution of the exercise. Any of those things are going to benefit you, all right? If you're doing 8 reps of the bench press for, let's say doing 60 kilos bench press, you do for 8 reps. If the next week you can do 9 reps for each set, or you can add an extra set, or you can do 62.5 for 8 reps, you have progressively overload. And each week you get a little bit stronger, and that way it'll help ensure that you're gaining muscle mass, right? Along with that, training, while it's so important, so is recovery. You don't train 7 days or 6 days to gain muscle. 3 to 5 days is the ideal amount of training that you should be doing, because you do not grow while you're in the gym. You break down muscle mass when you're in the gym. You grow when you are out of the gym, when you are recovering. And that's something we really need to remember, because a lot of people get caught up in thinking, oh yeah, I just got to train every day. It doesn't benefit you like that. You don't grow. You grow from sleep, you grow from rest. If you keep slamming yourself in the gym where you're going 7 days a week, you are not going to be growing that much muscle mass. You're actually shortchanging your growth. Because again, rest is where we grow. Recovery is where we grow. And this is also why sleep is super important. If you do not sleep enough, you are not helping your body recover. If you're not recovering enough, you will not be able to keep pushing each week to further help with that accumulation of muscle mass, right? So thinking about this is what would this look like overall? You dedicate 6 months. You start with a 10% increase in your calories. You then start to monitor your weight and your measurements. You start to progressively slowly go up in weight. Let's say after 2.5 months, your weight stalls. All right, what do? You've been from 2,500 to 2,750. You were gaining quite well. Now the weight's stalled. Well, now you do a 5% increase, okay? So a smaller increase, because again, we don't want huge jumps. So you go from 2,750 to 29.75, I think it would be, or 28.75, like a small jump, and see if that weight starts to go back up, all right? Remember, because it's slow progress. You're gonna commit to 6 months. Each week, you're gonna progressively overload and push a little bit harder. You'll then have a deload. You'll then keep pushing again and again and again. And if you repeat this boring fucking cycle of doing this for 6 months and embracing a little bit of uncomfortability and being okay, being a little bit fluffier than usual and not being as toned and defined, you are gonna have a successful gaining phase. You're gonna get to the end of that gaining phase. You're probably only going to need to lose a few kilos. Again, let's say you're all up, let's say you've gained 6 kilos. You're probably only gonna have to diet 2.5 of those kilos off, or maybe even 3 kilos, so it's a 50-50, which is still great, by the way, instead of having to diet off 4 kilos or 5 kilos and only a small amount of muscle. I'm telling you guys, if you do take it slower, if you are willing to be patient, if you're willing to be uncomfortable for a little bit longer and be willing to push those calories higher, you're gonna gain some muscle mass, all right? Cool? Hope that was helpful. If you guys have any questions, as always, you know where to find me on Instagram @tysonthetrainerr with 2 R's. Until next time, speak to you guys then.